What's going on? Welcome on in Mission Get Green today. This was really a break-even day, but I did not feel like I should have been even red, even a touch. I should have been slightly green, if anything. So a lot of little trades in here. There was two of them that were very small. So really there's three tickers we're going to focus on. There's really three trades here. And we'll start with Tesla. So that was the first one. And then we finished with NVDA, which got us green. 51 bucks on that one, 55% ROI. You think, oh my God, well, that's because it's next day option expiration, which, hey, that's a risky play, but I had the risk. I mean, the risk was very tight. It was like either it's going to go or it's not, and it went. So we finally got something to work. And notice that they were mostly all calls. There was one put play that ended up being a break even, this -3. That was up. This was actually up at one point 90 bucks, and just not enough for me to take profits. Very close. It was like inches away from my take profit, just not enough. Looking back, I probably should have just locked that one in, and I'll show you why. So we'll get into all that stuff. That is what we're going to talk about here in today's video. But technically, it's break even, but technically it is green by 20 bucks. So, woo! I mean, at least it breaks up the past week and a half. Based off of what we've been getting on. So let's dive in. So Tesla was first. Here's NVIDIA pushing up. I guess actually, let's just work our way backwards because we already got NVIDIA here. So NVIDIA, here's the trade. This is it. Higher lows. Break this level, go. Here's the thing. I looked at my data. I'm going to have a video tomorrow going more of a recap, September recap. But the data tells me that actually, you know what? I might even make a separate video. I might be a separate video because it probably deserves, more time just allocated to it, which I might do. The data has told me, and it's not, you'll see it in the video. I mean, it is not even close. Bull flag breaks versus bear flag breaks. I have been green on bull flags this month and red on bear flags. I have taken more bear flag trades. So more breakdown trades and less breakout trades, essentially, is what we're looking at. I call them bull and bear. You could look at them and go, oh, that's a little bull flag. I don't give a fuck. It's to me, it's an upside break, push up, consolidate break is what it is. That's all it is. So I call it a bull, call it a bear, just make it easy. That's it. But great volume, great push. The reason why I just exited this like right now was because I'm looking at Bookmap, and it might have broken through here. I was looking at Bookmap here to get a sense, and see this right here, this liquidity up around this 432. That was my target. So if we broke over 430, I'm like, okay, if we break 430, great, we'll go to 432. It's a pretty good push. Beyond that, maybe 435 if the market really goes for it today. But that was the deal. So I sold at 432 because when you play next day expirations, again, you need to sell extensions. You wait for pullbacks, and then they decay incredible. So that was that one. That was this NVIDIA trade right here. Pretty much selling at the peak of my P&L curve, which was good. Let me just log this quick. So go in here, custom. I'm going to log this as to system, and I'm going to it was on the intraday, and then I'm going to call this a bull flag. That's what it was. So that was the trade. So that was NVIDIA, and let's go to the next trade, which I guess is technically before the NVIDIA trade. That brings us over to our friends here at Meta. Now I'm going to go back to the charts here because it's just easier to show you this because it technically was two trades, but it really was one. And I'll show you why. Now we netted a profit on this, but, ended up not being as great as I thought it was going to be. So we essentially saw this. Well, I originally saw this, and then I didn't trade this break. So I'm going to just mark these two levels. I loved how we had these big wicks to the downside, popped up, and then broke this. Now, by the way, so essentially you have your consolidation break to the upside. I ended up taking this. I entered here, and I got a nice pop, and then I sold into this move, and then I was very close to my next sell, but then I didn't sell, and then it ended up coming back, stopping me out, and then I waited, and I actually re-entered because I ended up getting stopped out like up here, and I was like, well, the 9 EMA, pull up the 9 EMA, the 9 EMA is actually like right below where I got stopped. I should have waited for the 9 EMA to break before I stopped myself out. And so that's what I decided to do. So I ended up getting back in on the second attempt. Not the second attempt was me just getting back in saying, hey, I probably shouldn't have actually stopped myself out here. Here's a 9 EMA. I just get rid of it for a second. I probably shouldn't have actually stopped myself out here. I should have let it come back to the 9 EMA and then, break the 9 EMA for me to get out. But you'll see that if we get rid of this, it did break the 9 EMA by a little bit, by a good bit actually, and then it broke and it came back up. So momentum was lost and then it came back. When you lose momentum like that, I want to get out. I don't want to be in this stuff if momentum is gone. No, hey, it's going back to highs. All it did here was retest the top of the consolidation area pretty much and then send it back to highs. So, there was you could have stayed in. It would have then gone red on me, and then I would have had to hold through being slightly red only to come back. You could have. I could have. But idea was there, just the execution's not surprised, a little choppy. But overall, the reason why I want to pull this up, because if you look at Meta on the daily chart, this is where it gets like juicy. I mean, it gets interesting to me. So I broadened this chart out, and I'm like, why is Meta even a thought to the long side? Tesla and NVIDIA, I'll play those long if they provide like intraday setups. I don't want to say no matter what, but they could be in a downtrend. All I got to do is be breaking like yesterday's high for me to say, hey, we got momentum here. I'll play them, because that's just like the personality of those stocks. Anything else, I will not do that for. No, I will not do it. Meta, in this case, has been one of your strongest stocks. It actually just broke out of a downtrend on the daily chart and had this massive lower wick yesterday, showing you that sellers came in, thought it was going to take it down, and then buyers sucked it right back up by the end of the day. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. So I'm like, hey, we break this downtrend, could be a good one. And you're seeing it is. So like the idea, we were there, like the thought process was there, technically was green on this trade, but the execution wasn't like perfect. So it is what it is. I'll move on. This loss of 25 was not to system. This was like a dip buy. The trade before this was to system essentially, or was to my strategy. Let's do custom to system. Setup was a bull. So that's that. And then the next trade is going to take us down to Tesla. Actually, there were technically two trades here on Tesla. So this is what we did first. This is kind of like walking us back through our first looks were on Tesla. Now Tesla's up. The market's actually going straight up. As I look at it right now, it's going straight up the past like half hour. So it's going up. Cool. But Tesla, I originally looked at it and I said to myself, okay, like, is it above yesterday's highs? Could we say we've got, maybe the starting the formation of a higher high here on the shorter term time frame and higher lows? Is that possibly the case? So that's what I want to look for. If that's the case, cool. Do we have an opportunity to play the upside? And we kind of did. So my thoughts on Tesla here were pretty straightforward. We had this move. We had this essentially this push above VWAP right here, and then this nice push held up, and then upper wick right here, break. So I had this double top high that I'm like, yo, we break this double top high. I want to be in for this Tesla trade. A little wonky because, we had this massive green candle coming off the VWAPs. Like, it's not as easy to risk, but if we get in this double top high, I'll take the entry on that breakout and then stops here. So that's what I did. I got stopped out on the first trade. So I got stopped out. I lost like 50, 60 bucks, pretty tight, like keeping the stops tight, nothing crazy. I don't want to lose more than 100 on a trade, as we've talked about. And as you probably know, if you've watched these videos, these trade recaps in the past. So as long as we're keeping it 100 or less, like that's good risk management, because my wins, when things work, they can easily be 100 plus with normal sizing and whatnot. But I then say, okay, this is actually now, I'm like, whoa. This is actually like literally the inverse of my strat. Like this, when my strategy doesn't work, like this setup is like the perfect setup to play the backside. And this did work. This did work. I just didn't take profits when I probably should have. Was looking for more of a dollar target, percentage target, versus when I looked at the chart, it probably made sense to just lock this in while we came down to literally low of day, because low of day was right here at the open. Like we came down just north of low of day. Like I probably should have been like, hey, we're getting down towards low of day. You want to lock this in, right? Probably doesn't, make sense to hold on to this. So when I see us have a breakout fail and then it starts to break down, that is when I'm like, oh, this could be a short where you enter here, which I did enter on this candle, and then stops right over those highs. So I originally lost like 50 bucks in the first long attempt on Tesla. then I'm like, this is now the inverse. This is like when my strategy does not work, this is what happens. This is what happens. I don't play this a lot, but I've been kind of dabbling in this like kind of choppier environment. And so we have to have a couple things. Like for me to play a short on what was originally a long, we would need to have a false breakout, which we got, upper wick, great. We also need to have, for me to play the short, an overall downtrend on the daily chart. Like the trend has to be down on the daily for me to do this. So I'm like, we have that. Market's been weak. Tesla's been weak. Great. So boom, boom, we will take this. So I got in, stop above high, again, risking like 50, 60 bucks here. So worst case scenario, it loses. I lose 50 bucks or 60 bucks and I'm down 110 on the day. It is what it is. Not the worst of days. 2 trades, 2 attempts. It just didn't work. So, we'll come back tomorrow, try it again. So this works. We go massively down. And then I didn't take profits at low of day. So essentially you can see that this chart on the P&L curve, I got in and I was up 90 bucks. I was just looking for 10 more to get to that 100 threshold. And then I was going to like lock the gains. Didn't happen. Looking back, probably could have been like, whoa, that's low of day. Like that's a spot that we could bounce. Like, makes sense. Low of day, right? We could totally bounce there. We did end up come back. I had got stopped out, break even on this trade. So it is what it is. I'm going to go in here, custom. This was not to system, but this was a failed breakout in a larger downtrend. So it's like, actually what I should do is I should tag this as inverse system. Inverse system. So it's like the inverse of my strategy is this. Boom, could. Because I don't want to call it not system and then have the data skewed as when I go back and look and say, oh, all the trades that were not the system, those all won or lost or whatever, like even though they were inverse trade, I want to make sure I call those inverse system trades. So that was the deal. The other one was on Tesla we just talked about. I was up for a second, then it went back against me. It is what it is. Lost 58 on that one. This one was, I'm going to call this one to system, and this is going to be that bull flag break, upside break that we had. So in a nutshell, that is today. That was the day. And if we go and look at SPY right now, it's now up 0.8%. So you check back into some of these charts and you're like, whoa, yeah, look at SPY. Big moves. I mean, SPY had the same type of strategy. I could have played SPY here. This could have been a trade here too. Now, of course, SPY's been in a bigger picture downtrend, right? All those things, factor in it. Not the best time, but here's the thing like I think about, and it's something to think about deeper as I track this strategy over months and months and months. We're going to get we're about like a good 8 months in. So we have a decent feel for it, but not the best of feels, right? We can get a better feel. You can kind of see like, I'm thinking, is there something to be said for when you start factoring in like we're oversold, sentiment's very bearish again. When you start seeing a bounce, because these could be pretty aggressive bounces as we're seeing right now, is there something to be said for kind of playing against the bigger picture trend if we've got good volume on the 5-minute chart and we're bouncing back up? Or same thing on the other side. We've been going up for a while. We're overbought, right? We're overextended. And then we start to pull back. Is there something to be said for playing shorts after we've gone up a lot, even though the bigger picture momentum would tell you don't short, and right now bigger picture momentum would tell you don't long, but there's opportunities. I don't know. There's something to be said about that. That's something to be tracked data-wise. It's not, and it doesn't happen a lot, so it's not very easy to like gather data in a month or two. Like it probably takes a year to really know. That's why like I really think that like this is a much longer game, but than people think, because you really need time to like do one thing and then figure out, like for example, like inside of like I may realize that hey, come August, September every year after doing this for a while, when we get these conditions present, the inverse of the breakout works like 60-70% of the time. So that's great. Like then I have data to say, okay, well, this time of year when we see these things, like this tends to happen this time of year, but when we see these things happen, right? Market's doing this. It's not really clear. We're getting moves down, bounces back up. Some stocks are up, some stocks are down on my list. When we get all these things, that's our cue to play the inverse or to play the false breakout only when it happens. Like there's no guarantee that it's going to happen all the time, but it's a situation where like you get the false break and then it breaks down, short it, stop over high of day, easy money, downside, done. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say easy money, but like maybe that's what happens more often than not. So it's all turning in the brain, right? The gears are working. So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow is the last day of the month for September trading. I'm excited for October. I'm excited for, hey, if the market wants to go up for the end of the year, great. If it wants to go down, great. I'm excited to see how momentum looks, how opportunities set up. All I'll tell you is that a little bit of a nugget before the trade recap, which I might post Friday, I might post Saturday, I don't know, I might post Sunday, I don't know when it's going to be. The September recap, I might just do a one trade recap tomorrow if there's enough to talk about, and then we'll do a full September recap the next day or soon after. But despite us going down, bear flags, downside breaks have been clearly what has held me back this month and why I'm red for the month. Not by a lot, not as bad as, or not, honestly, last month wasn't that big of a red month. This month is going to be the second red month for tracking this strategy since April, which is pretty incredible. Second red month total, and it's going to be the second in a row. Unless I make $400 in one trade tomorrow, which I guess is possible, but it's probably not likely. And I don't want to do or try to do that. You know what I mean? It's going to be the same, just do the same things I've been doing. And it's what it is. We'll get the data. We'll see what happens. And it's what it is. But the bull flags, despite in a downtrend, the upside breaks I have done better on this month than the downside breaks. Believe it or not, that's just how it's been. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's 100% me, or maybe it's something with the market. I don't know. But that said, I'll leave links down below to this video. I'll leave links to Bookmap, which I've got it pulled up here. I'll leave links down below to Bookmap. I'll leave links down below to TradeZilla to track all this stuff, as well as TradingView, all the stuff that I use on a day-to-day basis. We'll leave links down to below this video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.